Welcome to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we explore unexplained, mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today we're talking to Lauren Drake, a numerologist and spiritual healer who stepped away from her 15-year career as a food scientist earlier this year in order to pursue numerology and energy healing. So strap in as we explore the edges of the unknown. All right, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure the world of numerology is always fascinating and keeping you busy. I myself, I did a degree in mathematics, and a lot of that was drawing shapes. And I see a lot of the shapes that we drew in my undergrad on your website, specifically the circles that go around and around and around.
Yeah.
What drew you to the field of numerology?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because honestly, if I would have been told, years ago, even like 5 years ago, that I'd be in the place where I am now, I would have not have expected it. Because I actually, grew up very typical American household, grew up Catholic, and just kind of on that path of like, this is what you do. You go to school, you go get your degree, you go to a good university. And I was just kind of like, I was always good at math and science and kind of pushed towards engineering. And, I found myself in school and I'm like, this is not really for me. I don't know what it is. And kind of had like one of those, now I realize that it was kind of like a dark night of the soul moment. And my soul really reached out to being like, you're not on the right path. But at that time I was so young and, didn't really necessarily know how to step out on my own. So I found more of the easy path that satisfied myself at the time and made me think that I was, doing something original. So I made my way into food science and became food scientist and working in the food industry for, gosh, like you said in my intro, at least 15 years, up until early last year. But I was working in food safety and actually, and started going back to school for a master's degree in food safety and toxicology. And so I really feel when you say, you did math in school and all that. Yes, I had tons of that as well. But I just found myself, in that career, I made it to where I always thought I wanted to be, almost becoming like the youngest VP in my company's history. And just at 33, making it to my dream and then realizing this is not what I want anymore. I don't want this. And that's kind of where I just started searching and again, kind of went into this little bit of a darker place in myself internally. But once I was able to quiet down and listen to myself and hear my internal calling, I started seeing numbers everywhere. Like they're popping out everywhere on street signs, license plates, in movies, on stopping a song at 2 minutes and 22 seconds or, always things like that. And so that's when I started digging into that and what does this mean? There has to be a greater meaning to this because it's way too coincidental to be just seeing all these numbers all the time. And that's when I was drawn to numerology and started to open up spiritually. And that's when I found Reiki as well. And I went through and did my Reiki certification. And at the same time, I was also, because I was so drawn to numerology, I was like, I need to do this further, not beyond just learning what I could learn in a book. And I started even I was so into it and just out of my book, trying to give my friends and family readings, just literally reading out of a book. And everyone loved it and just said how accurate it was. And I felt it in my own life as well. And it helped me feel seen and understand myself and understand why I wasn't feeling like I was fitting in the career that I was in, and just answered so many questions of why I was or am the way I am, that I once had thought it was wrong. I once had thought there's something wrong with me, but now seeing my numbers, it explained everything and it helped me understand that I am the way I am on purpose, right? And this is the experience that my soul wanted. So I knew that I wanted to help other people feel the same and really find their own purpose, or even just help them know themselves better and gain self-love. So that's when I decided to work on my numerology certification. And so I worked with a wonderful mentor. His name's Tom Eckert. You know, if anyone's ever interested in studying numerology, he's a great teacher. Yeah, so I started working on that, on a certification, and I did my Reiki training as well. And yeah, there just became a time when I was so open spiritually and in tune with the energies that I was just like, I could no longer handle my previous career. I couldn't do it. It was just too much stress. I was overworking myself. I was literally sick, and I didn't even know it until I eventually quit my job and then found out I had a lot of health issues. But yeah, it would just literally, you know, finding neurology and Reiki, it opened up my eyes and opened my life to the possibilities that I hadn't ever even dreamt of before. And it's been so amazing since I connected with more.
So one of the things, you know, I'm kind of a nerd, a math nerd, I guess you could say. One of the things about numerology that you mentioned on your website is that it's like astrology, but with numbers.
Mhm.
Now, astrology is basically a base 12, right? There's 12 signs.
Mm-hmm.
Numerology looks like it's a base 9 because you go on 1 through 9, and then you have other kind of
Right. Master numbers.
master numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that system originate? Do you have any
Yeah.
sense of where the numbers originate and how they connect?
Right. So, well, first of all, let me kind of address the difference and similarities between numerology and astrology. So, I like to compare it because so many people are more familiar with astrology. Because astrology, although it's speaking to planetary and luminary energies, right, and translating that into your life and what it means for your particular, you know, body when you were born. Um, but with numerology, it's kind of like cutting all that out, understanding the planetary energies, just talking about just universal energies, because I really believe with astrology, that's what you're looking at anyway. Um, and so if you get an astrological reading and a numerological reading, sorry, I can't speak. You'll most likely find out you're getting very, very similar information because it's all just working with the universal energy field. And so now to answer your question about how did, you know, numerology come about and knowing the numbers 1 through 9, but numerology dates back to thousands and thousands of years. There were a number of systems all over the world at the time. We're talking like I said, over 2,000 years ago, probably 4,000. But there were systems out of like Japan, Rome, China, Egypt, Babylonia. They were all over. And at this time, obviously, people weren't easily traveling and commingling and talking about these things. So I feel like it's amazing that, you know, so many different ancient cultures saw the connection of numbers to the universe or to the divine. So they had all these different systems going on. And then around 2,500 years ago, Greek philosopher Pythagoras, right? You talked about math and shapes, and we all know Pythagoras from his Pythagorean theorem. So not only was he just a lover of math, he was a lover of numbers. Anyway, so he learned about all these other systems and kind of put his own together and correlated them together. And he is attributed to being the father of Western numerology. Pythagorean numerology today is what we use in the Western world. And so with his system, that's where it attributes all the numbers go from 1 to 9. That's kind of the cycle. There's epicycles of 9 years in numerology. But then, yes, of course, you do have the master numbers, 11, 22, 33, and so on. But those all, again, reduce down to a single digit 1 through 9. And so that is the understanding that all of these different attributes about the universe and characteristics and things can all be described in the numbers 1 through 9 in that way. And you can think of, you know, I like to think of the numbers like think of music notes, how you can have, you know, you can have a high C or a low C, right? They're just different octaves, but it's the same note being played. So a number is very similar, where you can have these more, you know, positive, higher vibrations of a number, different attributes associated with it and characteristics, and then, or you could have lower vibrations as well. And so it brings in it's like a range of energies that describe each specific number that way. Did I answer your question thoroughly?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay.
So the next question, the next portion of the question is the connection between the number and the reading or the distinct path that you
Okay.
mentioned, right? So how did we find out, or how did you find out which number correlates to which path? You talked about it on the website as kind of a bit, and I'm going to put up the website here just now so that everybody knows where it is. And the number 6, for example, I went through the algorithm that you put up, and I came up with number 6 for
Okay.
my path number. It is pretty accurate. I will say that it is pretty accurate. Like how does it get there?
Okay.
How does the number connect so much that you can confidently say that this is what a number is?
That's just the beauty of the universal energies, right? I mean, that is kind of the mystery that is with it, and just the fact that it's such an ancient system, and then just been tried and true, and just adapted throughout the years to become even more accurate, because like I said, we've had it around for thousands and thousands of years. And yeah, and there is always kind of that air of mystery behind it. But I really believe, though, when you're in tune to divine, to source, and to the universal energy field, you can tune into these energies and just feel them and understand them. And I believe initially, Pythagoras and people that helped develop this initially, all those other ancient cultures, they were in tune with this, and they were all kind of speaking the same language. And that's where they really tuned in and understood that this is what the energy, like I said, the six is really that nurturer, the person that really likes to take care of people, and very gentle and compassionate. And so, just overall the time that this has been practiced, it's just been honed even more accurately. And yeah, like I said, it is still kind of that air of mystery, where a lot of that, the belief in universal energy, and that's why it's still called, technically, if you look up numerology, it's called a pseudoscience, right? Because it's a metaphysical science, just because there is still that little bit of a gap where it's like, how do we prove that? But I think, though, when you actually, open yourself up to it, and allow yourself to try it out, or just kind of dabble, whatever you want to do with it, you'll find that it's extremely accurate, like almost to the point where it's like scarily accurate. If you're like, how, just looking up just my birthday, can I tell all this about myself? And then especially when you get into all the other specifics, like calculating your expression number and soul urge and all those things based on your name, it really drills down to your exact characteristics, your talents, your abilities, your belief systems, is reflected in the numbers, which is, it's truly amazing. It really is.
All right, so let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So most of the folks, including myself, that we're talking to today, don't understand kind of the technical language. You said soul urge, I think is what the phrase.
Right. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, let's break that down. Okay. So with numerology, you have, Western numerology, you have 5 core numbers, that essentially those are the big numbers that make you, right? Like I said, like those are your deepest temperaments, your lessons, your belief systems, things like that. There's a whole lot of other numbers of numerology, but those are the main 5 that we really want to focus on. And so the first one is your life path number, which that is based on your birthday. You take your full date of birth and reduce it down to a single digit. And then you also have what we call your birthday number, which is just literally the day of your birth. So, born on the 2nd day of the month, you're a 2, right? That's your birthday number. But then if you look at your name given at birth, so taking your name, because this is under, the belief that a soul plans how they want to experience this lifetime and coming into this incarnation. And numerology practices the belief that, you choose your name, you choose your family, you choose all of that ahead of time. And the name you choose reflects the energies that you want to you possess and utilize in your life to help you live out these lessons you're trying to learn. So your soul chooses this name, and by taking your name and with Pythagorean numerology, it can reduce it down to a single digit as well, because each letter is attributed to a number 1 through 9. So those all get reduced down, and we can come up with these other numbers that make up your chart, such as your expression number, which is all of the letters in your name added up. So that speaks to your abilities, your talents, the things that you really, how you do life and how you make things happen in your life. And then I mentioned the soul urge number. The soul urge speaks to your belief systems and how you think, your deepest desires. And that comes from taking all the vowels from your name and adding them up and reducing them to a single digit. And then you can even look at your personality number, which is, kind of how you project your energies out to the world, and how other people see you. And that's from all the consonants in your name added up. And like I said, it's extremely accurate, like just knowing from myself and from all the readings that I've done and for other people. And it's so amazing and so insightful to be able to just be like, boom, there I am. And it just kind of like lays out things for you in front of you, versus, because I like to take a kind of a therapeutic approach with it and really try to help people discover themselves. And like I said, gain self-love and acceptance and validation through numerology. So it really kind of like cuts through everything, all of like kind of the nonsense that maybe you block that to admitting to really how you are about something. It really lays it out on the table to really be able to look at, okay, well, here's maybe where your challenge lies based on the numbers. And then we can work on, how do we work through that? How do we get you to be in a more higher vibrational state versus stuck kind of in that negative shadow energy of the number?
So is there a way to boost your numbers? Like, can you get those numbers up? These are rookie numbers. We got to get those numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so your numbers, although yes, you can change your name, your numbers will always basically stay the same based on your, like I said, your birthday, because your birthday is never going to change. Your birthday and your name given at birth. So you always have this natural tendencies based on what your soul chose to come in as. Now, everyone has free will still. So you're able to decide how you want to express those energies. There's things in the way that the numbers come together that I can kind of tell that, most likely it'll be expressed a certain way, or maybe, the life path number may not be real as influential as it should be because of the placement in the chart, things like that. But you always have that free will and choice to be able to live how you want to and express the energies how you want to. So there may be someone, you mentioned you have a life path 6, correct? So there could be, you're choosing to take it and being very, nurturing and trying to really take on the responsibility of your friends and family and really help people out. But there may be someone else that takes it in a way that they're a little bit, they kind of like harbor a lot of resentment, and they, become very angry and really don't want to help people in that way, right? So there's free will. You can take it that way in the shadow side, or you can even really, lift it up and be very high vibrational and really try to learn out those lessons that your soul was meant to learn in this lifetime.
Okay, well, what does that mean? Vibrational, high vibrational, low
Okay.
vibrational. What is that?
Okay, so well, everything is energy. We are all energy. Even the desk I'm sitting at is energy. It's energy particles, just moving so to a pace that we can't tell that they're actually just little energy particles. And even our bodies are energy. We are energy beings, and so we all have this. We all have our own natural vibration, our own natural frequency. And so this is what we give off. And numbers as well have their own vibration and specific frequency. They're on a range of vibrations. And so you can choose to be more, typically higher vibrational is like seen as more of this positive, in a better light, I guess. Like, but although I don't see things as necessarily negative or positive, because this is all part of the human experience. That we're meant to experience, but we can just choose to just be at a higher state, a higher vibrational state, and pull and really lift our energy in that way. Does that make sense and answer your question?
Kind of. So
Okay.
I think of it, when you talk about energy states, it takes me back to high school chemistry and electrons being in a lower electron field and then being forced into a higher electron field. Like that's the place that it
Okay.
takes me when you're talking about higher vibrational, lower vibrational. Electrons like to be at as low a vibrational or low an energy state as possible, as low a electron field as possible.
Mm-hmm.
People, as I've come to see, generally like to be low energy. Some people have what I call a high heat capacity, means that it takes a lot to rattle them. And some people have a low heat capacity, which means it takes very little to rattle them. And so when you're talking about getting to a higher vibrational state, I don't think that you mean the same thing. I think you're talking about kind of a wavelength, or maybe you're in tune with a different frequency or different wavelength spiritually.
Exactly.
Versus
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at on a very material.
Yeah, you gotta don't think so much in the 3D. And yes, I mean, it's very, very true what you're saying, right? But this is kind of, think of beyond that, beyond the physical. This is definitely more esoteric, more spiritual that we're speaking here. That yeah, we're naturally, like I said, we're all energy beings. So that's kind of where you need to think of it in the first hand, that it's like we are literally energy. And so everyone's, because you said some people run their energy lower, some people run higher. And then these can be represented by all the different numbers, right? Because everyone's energetic frequency, it's their own signature. It's like fingerprints, right? We'll have our own unique energetic signature. And although we don't necessarily, most people don't perceive those energy fields of the other people right away, but some people are very sensitive and in tune with that. And especially people, if you've gone through any like energy attunements or things like that, you can really pick up on these energies. Or if you just know that if you're an empath, someone that's very sensitive to the feelings and energies of other people, you can just naturally feel that. Kind of like, for example, when you just walk into a room and you just feel like the vibe feels off. Like you're just like, I feel uncomfortable, something feels off. Usually that's because you're picking up on someone else's probably most likely lower vibrational energy that's just not resonating with you. And so you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right to me. And so that's how, we all give off our own frequency in that way. And so that's what I meant by you can choose to raise your vibration, be at a higher frequency. And really that means like by changing different belief systems, different ways of thinking, by changing your perspective and just living in loving energy, you can really raise your vibration in that way.
Okay, so let's put together a little hypothetical for you. When you talk about energy and being in tune with other people's energy, I'm the kind of person, when I go into a room, I try to get everybody on the same page as me.
Yeah, because you're 6. Sorry.
Okay,
anyway, I'll talk about that later.
if somebody's not on the same page, like it's an effort for me to get them in line with my energy, bringing them to me rather than me going to them. And then you're saying that's part of being a 6?
Well, what I meant by that is because people that have 6s in their chart typically really like to have harmony and balance in their environment. So they will really work hard at, making sure everyone is okay, making sure everyone's feeling good. They don't want things to be rocky. You don't like it to feel uncomfortable. And so that's kind of where I feel like correct me if I'm understanding you wrong, but it seems like you're kind of wanting everyone to match your energy in the fact that like, no, you feel good, you feel balanced, you feel harmony. You want everyone to feel that as well. Is that kind of what you mean by that too? Or?
Yeah, well, okay. So yeah, when I'm feeling good, I want everyone to feel good. Here's an example. Like when I was in high school, if we were at a football game, I was the guy in the stands getting everybody excited for the football game.
Okay. You're like the hype man, huh?
Yeah. So we'd sing "Who Let the Dogs Out" every time something good happened. Right? And Brian, we're getting to that. We'll get to that. We'll get there. Great. There you go. And then if something is troubling me, then I want everyone else to understand why it's troubling me. And then
Okay.
we're all on the same page, right? And we can work together to find a solution. Or people will do what I say, and then we find a solution. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when the energies need matching, I'm kind of the guy who gets everybody to match energies.
You're kind of being that bridge, right, to bring them together that way then?
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm pouring the energy where it needs to be poured, and I'm absorbing energy where it needs to be absorbed to get everybody balanced.
Okay. Yeah, that, like I said, that's very 6 of you to want to do that. But it's good too that you're saying that that you are willing to, let people know when something's off and you're feeling off, because a lot of times people that have strong 6s in their chart will hold those things inside because they do really like I said, they like things to be nice. They like it to be just kind of easy flowing. And a lot of times they'll hold that in, and then that causes resentment and buildup of anger inside of them. So really glad you're not doing that. I'm curious too, looking at the rest of your chart, because that's just one number, right? Knowing your life path number, although it's a big number, it doesn't make up all of you. So I'd be curious to see what your other numbers are, to look at and kind of where all that's playing out, and where you kind of like that hype man thing is coming from too. Maybe you have some 8 or 9 in you, or there too.
I don't know. I all I've done so far is the path number.
Yeah. Can I see what's your birthday? Like not the full birthday, but just the day of the month.
It's the 7th.
Oh, okay. So you got some introspective side too, kind of this wise, knowledgeable side going on too.
Oh, I don't know. If you ask my wife, she would say
okay. Well, since that's your birthday number, that's kind of like your sub lesson that comes along with your main life path lesson as well. So not only are you the 6 that's really learning to take on, maybe some extra responsibilities, but while you're nurturing and loving those people around you, you're also trying to learn some of the lesson of the 7, where you're learning to feel what it, understand what it is to really use your mind, really use your intuition, and listen to yourself and listen to your own path in that way.
Okay.
So, yeah, you have some interesting numbers.
Might be some there. And then the other ones, the other numbers are derived from the name.
Correct.
The consonant,
yes.
The name all together, then the vowels alone, and then the consonants alone. Is that right?
Exactly.
Now, I guess this is again kind of the math nerd in me coming out, is why is 0 left out of the discussion?
Well, initially, it wasn't 0 wasn't ever really included with numerology, but now 0 is looked at. That's source. That's the creator. That's the circle, right? That's the infinity, all inclusive. So that's really how 0 is seen as the divine.
Yeah, I guess if you're adding up digits in your birthday, you're never going to get to a 0. And if you're adding up the letters in your name, that's probably not ever going to be a 0 either, unless your name is all just space.
Yeah, the only time, of course, your name could add up to, like, say it's a 30 or something, so it has a 0 in it. And so although that'll get reduced down to like a 3, but It's still that 30 kind of gives more specific flavor to the 3, versus like if it was a 12-3 or a 21-3.
It's kind of like adding some Parmesan to your
kind of, yeah. And put this seasoning instead of the other one. Yeah.
So the zero is some salt and pepper. Okay. Shoot. Here we go. All right. So then another math nerd question. Oh, here's Kyle. I'll let him add himself when he's ready.
Better late than never.
Hello.
Lauren, this is Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Kyle's my wonderful co-host. He's also a very busy man. So he has a late hall pass from his mom, I'm sure. He'll have it in later. Okay, so then going from your name to numbers, is it just as simple as adding, you assign a digit to the letter, or you assign a number to the letter? So like A is 1, M is 13.
Well, it goes 1 to 9. So all the numbers get numbered. I'm sorry, all the letters get numbered 1 to 9. So it's easiest if you like, if you wanted to Google like Pythagorean numerology, the chart will pop up right there for you, and you'll see all the numbers. Like A is a 1, of course, right? And then you can have multiple, then you have B is a 2, C is a 3. But then as you rotate around, so C will be a 3, L is also a 3. So it kind of goes through the alphabet in that way.
Okay, so we call that a mod. In math, that's a mod. It's a mod 9. The alphabet wasn't always in the same order, and they used to have different letters in it. So how do you account for that? Is it just whatever it is currently?
Yeah, so with English, we'll use just the English alphabet translated through Pythagorean numerology. But if you have something other than the normal 26-letter alphabet, you'll utilize that language's numerology. So you have a different chart. So like Spanish has a separate chart than what you'd use for someone that has an English-born name.
Okay. And then this is all 1 through 9. What about number systems that have different bases, right? What if it's a binary system or a hexadecimal system? Is there a numerology for those too?
Well, everything can get reduced down to a single digit. I mean, is that what you're referring to? I mean, like, I guess explain a little bit more, please, what you're asking.
Yeah, sure. So number systems are somewhat arbitrary, meaning that somebody came up with them because it fit the culture at the time that it was developed. In the computer culture context, for example, they use binary because when they were setting up the code sheets, they used to just be pieces of paper. And then when they would run the paper through the computer, it would either have a hole punched in it or no hole punched in it. And so the hole punched in it is a 1 and no hole is a 0. So binary, right? That's how computers understand. That's their numerology or their number system. We use base 10 because we have 10 fingers, but we didn't always have 10 fingers. There was a time when a lot of humanity had 12 fingers, 6 on each hand. Mm-hmm. And some people still have that. They call it polydactyly, where they have an extra digit on their finger or on their hands. And so a lot of cultures grew up with base 12. Also, base 12 is counting the knuckles on each hand. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I guess my question is, and in fact, some people believe that the number pi is prettier in base 12 than it is in base 10.
Well, with oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And Kyle says, Sam, you lost me. So, it's just
9 too. It's not even like the 10-digit
right.
Base 10, right? We're only talking 1 through 9 anyway.
So that's what I'm saying is numerology was developed in a certain culture, and then you're readapting it to a modern
correct
culture.
Yeah that's what we call it, Western numerology.
Right. And so is there a gap there? Is there something lost in translation as a result of adapting that original numerology system to a modern?
Well, right now there's many different numerology systems. There's Chaldean, there's Kabbalah, there's all these different numerological systems. Personally, I haven't studied the other ones to compare and see how accurate they're. I just know personally that using Western numerology, how extremely accurate it is, just living through my own life and through with other people and what I've learned about it and everything. I personally feel like it's when you just, like I said, you feel into the numbers when you're connected to source in that way. And which I do believe that Pythagoras and all the other, the cultures that developed numerology way back when, they were very tuned in to source in that way. And so, like I said, they're just all gaining this ancient knowledge and developing it off of that. So that's my personal belief of why it is very accurate. And I think that it was translated very well, but I mean, I get what you're saying, that there could be some gaps because of, the different systems in that way. But,
well, I'm not saying that there is, I'm saying, is that a challenge? Is that something that you have to consider?
We don't typically in Western numerology. No.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I hate to ask this, but what are you guys talking about? Like, can I get like the short answer
Okay, so
to be caught up?
so your life boils down to 5 numbers, right?
Well, okay,
9
that's
numbers.
your core numbers, but there's a
five,
whole lot. But yeah, that's your 5 core numbers.
And
So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
no. So it's like your stats. It's like your stats. You know, the path number, soul urge. I
Yeah,
forgot.
they
all
so there's
have really cool names.
yeah, there's the life path number, which is based on your birthday number, which is also based on literally the day of your birth, so the day of the month you're born. And then there's your expression number, which speaks to your talents, your abilities, which is derived from your full birth name. And then there's a soul urge number, which is your belief systems, like your deepest desires, things like that. And that is derived from the vowels in your full birth name. And then you have your personality number, which is derived from all the consonants in your birth name. And that speaks to like your
Can
energy.
we get an example?
Well,
Can we like do one, or did you guys already do one, or
We haven't done one
like
yet.
is it like
I
long
did.
and drawn out, or
so if you go to the illuminatedlifehealing.com website,
okay, I'm
I'll walk
already
you
there.
through it. I had done that prior to the show, and my life path number was 6. I feel like if we there's 2 other important numbers that I think we're leaving out of the conversation, which is your social security number and your credit card number.
Right.
We got
I don't
your
need to ask
first
that. I
pet's
don't need
name.
that stuff.
So what do you click on to do it?
go to the blog.
Yep, it's under the blog, and then it's life path calculations.
Yeah. So let's just do it right now with you, Kyle. When is your birthday?
You need the whole thing.
Yeah, the month, and the number month, the day, and then the year.
Okay, it's 6479.
June 4th,
Yeah.
1979.
And the last 4 of my social are.
Yeah. And what your credit card number is, and also what's the 3 other back?
So what you would do then? So you take each individual component of your birthday. So
Okay.
yours is a little bit easier. June, what do you say? June 4th, right?
Yeah.
So June obviously is a 6. That's already reduced to a single digit. 4th already reduced. If you were born on say like the 23rd, you'd have to go 2 + 3, reduce that to a 5, just for example. But yours is 6 + 4, and then you're gonna take 19. What did you say? 79.
Mm-hmm.
So 1979. Add that all up. Let me see if I did the math right. I think that adds up to 26.
Yeah.
26, and then 2 + 6 is 8. Right. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna add 6 + 4 + 8. So then we're at 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to reduce 1 + 8 is 9. So your life path number is a 9.
I never scored that high on anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So that tells me that I like to call the 9 the selfless humanitarian. You're definitely really about giving to others, really wanting to have big compassion for people all around the world. You're very passionate about what you put your heart to. You're really very dug into it. And just probably multi-talented as well. People with 9s have a lot of different avenues and talents they can go down to. They're very creative as well. So yeah, big number is a life path.
Kyle can shred on guitar. He's very good at guitar.
There you go.
Okay, so that's the life path number. And then what is the benefit? What's the benefit of knowing the numbers about yourself rather than, what makes numerology a better system than say astrology?
Yeah. Well, they're still similar but different at the same time. So I don't really want to say it's a better system. I like them both. I really like astrology too. Obviously, I'm not an astrologer, but what I do like about numerology is because I understand numbers a little bit better than placement of planets. And with all the transits always changing, it gets a little confusing with astrology for me. So with numerology, like I said, it's a little bit, to me, it's a little more concise and kind of really gets right down to it and very detailed, can be very specific. And And what, the advantage of knowing your numbers is really to help understand yourself better, to really know what you're supposed to be doing in this lifetime. What did your soul really want you to learn in this lifetime? Because we get so bombarded with what society wants us to do, what our, growing up, what our parents want us to do, or just, maybe we get stuck in, I should do this versus what I really want to do. So this helps kind of like you remove a lot of that conditioning and really get to the nitty gritty of like who you are and who you were meant to be, and really can highlight your natural talents that maybe you're like, I knew I was kind of good at that, but then, it really can help you boost your talents and give you more self-confidence to know that about yourself and know your numbers. And it's an amazing spiritual tool to really help you just grow and evolve as a person, to also bring compassion to yourself and help validate things that you've gone through in your life, and understand why you acted the certain way that you did. And also it's amazing too, when you learn these things about yourself, you can start seeing different things in other people that you're like, wait, that's totally different than I am. But that's the beauty in it, because they are different numbers. And so numerology it beautifully represents all the different expressions of source, and how we all wanted to live out our lives differently, and why, everyone has their specific purpose, and we all need each other to come together in that way to, to create the beautiful tapestry. But yeah, it's just, like I said, I love numerology as an amazing spiritual tool to really gain self-love, acceptance, and it can even be used to help you like plan for the future and decide when there's a good time to, maybe you're trying to like make a career change or a move or something like that. You can look into the current energies around you, very similar to astrology. You can look at your personal cycles in numerology to understand like the different influences that are be coming at you at certain times, to see if the energies are more conducive for certain activities, or if you should kind of maybe wait it out a little bit and do it at a different time too. So there's so many really cool things you can do with numerology.
I need to do the first one that you mentioned.
To do like all about the life purpose and kind of like taking away all the conditioning and all that, and
career,
yeah. And that's what's really, exactly, it's really cool. It scrapes away all that conditioning, so we can really be like, drill down, okay, what are you very good at? What do you really desire? Now, how do we put these numbers together and figure out what would really bring you fulfillment? And I do have a lot of clients that are, come to me being like, yeah, I have a job. I'm really not feeling it. There's something missing. What can I do? How can we kind of look into what might be fitting to me? And that's when I can look at, specifically, I like to look at your expression number, your soul urge number, and of course, taking into account your life path number. So how do these numbers really work together? Where would they best fit? And then, kind of give suggestions of like what might bring you joy. And that's really key. Of course, you should always listen to your intuition. Always listen to yourself first. Don't me as a numerologist, me telling you like, no, this is how you are as, a certain number. Of course, listen to yourself first, because that's always key. And then that's when someone like myself as a numerologist can come in and just help you along your way and help you find yourself in that way.
So the process of pinning down your numbers seems like a pretty simple exercise.
Yeah.
The interpretation of those numbers seems like where the difficulty comes in. So if I'm a 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you come in, right?
Exactly.
And your job, like, is there a book that you're using? Is there something intuitive about it? Like, how do you get from a set of numbers to a reading or to a plan of action?
Right. So I will draw up somebody's chart using the software that I have, and then looking at all the numbers and just with the knowledge that I gained through my certification and things like that. And I also intuitively, feel into it as well, because yes, exactly. Depending on all the other numbers in your chart, your numbers can behave differently. And they, like I said, they can enhance each other. They can be, maybe disharmonious and make another number a little bit more difficult in your chart. But yeah, that's where having a trained numerologist is very helpful to really figure out how do those numbers work together in your life. Because You can't just say like, oh, I'm only a 6 and that's all I am. Like, no, it's the way that they flow together, and really how the numbers come together and hold hands together.
Okay. So with the 5 numbers, you're pretty much pinning down probably 90%. Like, what's a percentage of accuracy as to like a person's life and their activity? Like, how, if we could add more numbers to it, would you be able to, accurately?
Oh yeah, there's ways. So if I had to put a percentage to the numbers, I would say looking at your 5 core numbers, you can probably nail down at least probably 75 to 80% of your personality. But then I'm going to look at other things that I see in like your, what I call your birthday matrix, or like if anyone's ever interested in learning about it, it's called the arrows of Pythagoras. So literally looking at your birthday and how the numbers line up in this little matrix can tell me different attributes about yourself, about your life experiences, different characteristics and things can be, determined through there. There's so many other different modifiers as well that I'll look at too, which there's something called intensity points. So based on your name, if there's a certain number that really stands out over the other ones, you kind of have more of an intensity in that energy, which can put more of a flavor onto your I'm going to call it your body chart, because I practice the human body method of numerology. So I look at it as like literally on your physical body. So it can kind of add flavor to that. And then there's all these other things that modify as well. There's things you can look at, such as like your, like literally take into account the month that you were born in. That's a modifier depending on, what that was. It adds different energies. And although it'll never change your core energies, it's just like adding on to it. So there's a lot of different nuances. And even looking at your personal cycles, you can kind of tell how those numbers are going to play out to put even more accuracy into, what times in your life maybe you kind of leaned into certain energies more than the other ones. So yeah, that kind of fills up the rest of that, whatever we want to say, 25 to 20 to 25%. But of course, numerology can never be 100% accurate. And I mean, that's just the nature of it. Like I said, there's free will. Everyone's going to choose to express themselves how they want to. So there's always that. And I'm definitely open to that. Why, when I do readings, I tell people like, please let me know if something's not resonating with you. Like I, of course, will not take offense to it. Like I want to know, because that's where we can dig in and find out where there might be like a blockage that you're not letting an energy come out, or, why you're kind of expressing it in a certain way. We can dive into more details into that as well.
So I like doing this little exercise about finding my life path number did feel like I was in the Da Vinci Code. But I was the subject. Like it felt really cool. Like, oh my gosh, I got to put the numbers again. Mm-hmm. This seems like a lot of fun, but at the same time, it sounds like you're able to help people guide themselves to a better future. Is that right? Have you had any success stories along those lines?
That's what I love about doing this. And honestly, that's why I personally even became a numerologist. And I would say that's probably my own personal success story. There is just giving myself the strength and the courage to be able to step away from a career that I knew, and, and that's what I had done for so long, but it gave me the courage to listen to my intuition, to listen to my gut, to really be like, it's not fitting. I need to do something. It allowed it gave my soul a voice. And that's really what I want to do for my clients as well, to really help them just live a better life, live fulfilled, and really just live out, use their abilities to the most, and like really see their talents as superpowers. And that's what I love to give my clients, just give them that courage and push them towards working towards their dreams, and let them know that it's kind of like, and show them the universe has their back as well. And so, yeah, I'm sorry, that was kind of like a long-winded answer, but yeah, I would say even just my personal story is really, I feel like it speaks so much to the power of numerology. And when you do surrender to the universe, magical things can happen.
Okay. All right. So what we're gonna try and do is, Kyle, have you been putting together your numbers? No?
For the life path.
9.
All right. I'm gonna try and put together my numbers.
You're gonna calculate all of them? I can do it quickly for you too, actually.
Okay.
But I don't know if you want to give out all your information over the.
Well, I'm not putting my social security, I'm not letting
But I
people
don't need that.
Okay.
You just need birth date again, or?
Well, I've got birthday is 6, birth date is 7. Now I got to find the rest.
So that takes a little bit longer to calculate, but that's based on your full name given at birth. So we use your first, middle, and last name.
Oh my gosh, let's see.
That's why there's a lot of online calculators. You can do that as well, but you can get some really good results. The only thing is that sometimes they add the numbers together differently, and as I mentioned earlier, it's very crucial to get the correct double-digit number. I'm sorry, what?
How do you do it?
I have software that does it, and I can actually
software.
do it. Yeah.
How does the software do it?
Oh, let's do mine then.
Oh, it calculates all. I mean, if you're willing to give me over the
I mean, I can put most of it in the private chat.
Oh, there we go.
If it's anything that's.
Well, I just need your full birth name and your birth date, and I already got your birthday anyway. But yeah, I just need your name.
Okay, I'll put it in the private chat.
Yeah, with middle included too.
Oh my gosh, this counting the alphabet is driving me crazy.
Yeah, I know. That's why when I first started, I did it all by hand like that, and then when I got the software, I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes it so much easier. Okay, and you were June 4th, right?
Yep.
1979.
Okay, so that's one actually.
Sorry about that. If you can hear my keyboard, it's kind of loud.
9.
Okay, let me make sure I typed your name right. Yes. Okay.
8.
Oh, okay. So yes, again. So yes, you are, like, again, it's just confirming life path 9, right? Your birthday 4, of course, you're born on the 4th. If we're looking at your next number with your expression number, these are your, like I said, your abilities, your talents, things like that. You have a 1 here. Okay. So it's a 19-1, which makes it up. So that's technically considered a karmic debt number, but those, do not be scared by that. I also have a karmic debt number in my hands, or my expression number. It just means that there's a little bit more of a challenge accessing those energies. And so just the base number 1, it just means that naturally you're very individualistic, right? You definitely can do things on your own. You're willing to try things out. You like things that are new. You like excitement. All those things that come with a 1. You're definitely the type that's like, you're going to do things your way, right? And not necessarily follow everybody else.
I just thought that was the ADHD.
And see, that's also what I love about numerology. You may be have an actual diagnosis with something, but looking at the numbers, and I'm just like, that's just how you were meant to experience life. You're meant to try to learn that balance. And I feel the same. I have a lot of 5s and 3s going on in my chart, which are a little bit all over the place. So I feel that. And so then going on to your soul urge number, which this is your like belief systems, how you think, you have a 3. And so what the 3 is, that's kind of the most childlike. It wants to have fun. It just desires to live life to the fullest and live in the moment and just enjoy life, and rather not get stuck in like the heavy, difficult things. Like, it just wants to have fun. So it's definitely like I said, you have a very light quality about you in that way. And then finally, you're looking at your personality number. Your actual personality number 7. So this is how you, like I said, how you project your energies out into the world. So and how people see you. So people probably see you as very knowledgeable and wise and introspective, and maybe like you probably come off as a little bit stoic. Like, you're not really going to show your emotions to everybody, but you have a very deep inner emotional world. We definitely okay, I'll show it to who I want to. But yeah, you're probably definitely with the 7 too. People see you as definitely this person that you're knowledge seeking. You like things like mysterious things, and you're running this podcast, right, called The Threshold of Reality, definitely wanting to dig into maybe sometimes metaphysical, esoteric things. People with sevens are very much into those things. They're being very scientific as well. So yeah, you have a really good range of different numbers too. A lot of odd numbers though. So typically if there's more odd numbers, it really tells me that you're very much about walking your own path. You're not going to be too concerned with like what society expects you to do. You're going to do what feels right to you.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Okay. I went through and added them up by hand. Now, double numbers are master numbers?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And you keep those as doubles, you don't reduce them?
Yes. Right. You're going to, while you're adding it up, you're going to keep it. And then if you get to the end of it, if it's a master number, we look at it as both like a dual energy. We'll look at it as that master number and then also the reduced single digit number.
Okay. So the name, the birth date,
Yes.
birth date was 6.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was born on the 7th.
Okay.
My full name added up to 88, which reduced down to 7.
Oh,
right?
okay. So you got right. Though that's actually 88's a master number. It's a very rare master number, but it is. Yeah.
And then the last two, the vowels and the consonants both added up to an 8. They'll both reduce down to 8.
Oh, okay. You got a lot of 8s. But
the
88,
8 and 8.
But then the 88 actually reduces down to a 16-7.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've got 6, your life path. You've got a birthday number, 7. You've got your expression number, 16-7. And then an 8, right, for a soul urge number?
Yeah.
You said. And then what did you say your personality was?
8.
Oh, an 8 again. Okay. We got a lot of 8 energy there too.
Okay.
So you definitely, because like I said, looking at your chart, you have quite a few more even numbers versus Kyle's, right? So you probably are a little bit more, maybe a little bit more conservative in your ways, a little bit more like wanting to, you're considerate of other people. You're going to kind of like hold your natural energies back for allowing that consideration to come through. Anyway, so let's talk about your 6. So like I said before, your 6, you're the nurturer. You like taking care and taking responsibility for your friends, your family. You're probably very dependable. You're probably that person that people will come to and really want to come talk to you and know that you're willing to listen. You're willing to help them see the other side because you like that harmony and balance that we talked about earlier. And again, 6s are very creative as well, considered part of the creative triad. So I don't know if you are musical at all or, into any art or anything like that. Typically 6s are a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. And 6s typically really just love nature, love people, love animals, just a big open heart as a 6. And then, like I said, bringing in that birthday number 7, that adds a lot of those introspective qualities, and where you probably definitely feel like, although you love to have that family time and focus on your loved ones, you also really need your alone time. You really need that kind of seclusion to just, be quiet and really sit and contemplate. That's very important for people to have strong 7s in their chart. And all those other things I mentioned about the 7, we were talking about Kyle, about like the, being very wise and, into, metaphysical things and scientific things that comes with the 7 for your birthday number as well. And then if we look at your expression number, right, we said it was a 16-7. You also, all three of us have karmic expression numbers. But again, it just means it's just a little bit more of a challenge accessing those numbers and those energies, but totally workable, totally can push through them. And honestly, I feel that there's even a bigger, greater gift when you have a karmic number, because you understand what it feels like to not be able to maybe hold your talents back, not completely really be able to believe in your abilities. But once you do, and once you let them shine, you can really, like I said, that is the gift where you can really just feel free and just really unleash that superpower. But having that 16-7 there, the 7, again, all the energies of the 7, you have a lot of 7s in your chart, right? Like I said, you probably definitely have You like your alone time at times, and you're a deep thinker, constantly asking why. And you're definitely somebody that, with it being in your expression number, you like to take your time. You're not going to just jump into something. You're going to really think about it and make sure it's the right decision. Maybe sometimes you overthink things, because sevens can tend to kind of like ruminate and things like that and replay things. But then let's look at your soul urge. You said it was an 8, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And so again, your soul urges, these are your desires, the way you think. You think very like achievement oriented, right? You probably really, really have high expectations of yourself, really want to succeed, and definitely, like I said, are very eight's a very physical, like body related number too. So you definitely like desire to like care about your physical health and things like that. But most of all, like I said, eights are very achievement oriented and really wanting to kind of like reach the top and feel success, whatever that means for you. And then, so people also see that about you. So you're not necessarily, because that's an 8 in your personality number, you're not necessarily hiding any of that, right? People can see that right away. They can see that that's really what you desire is to be this achievement oriented person. They probably see you as very methodical, very much have these strategic managerial qualities about you, because 8s can be very organized, but they're not stuck in the detail. Whereas like a 4, so because I have my birthday number 4 too. So I get the 4s can be a little bit, like I said, very stuck in the details, stuck in the weeds, and makes it harder to see the bigger picture. But an 8 can it sees the little details, but it's like, oh, we don't need to deal with those. We can see the bigger picture and get to that end goal. That's really what the 8 is all about in that way. But does that sound accurate? Do you have any questions on it?
What was the last one?
We were talking about your 8 personality number.
Personality. Okay.
Yeah. Yep, because you said you had an 8 there, and you had an 8 soul urge too, right?
Well, gosh, that sounded pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier in the discussion about shadow,
mm-hmm.
and there being kind of a negative to each of these. How does that play out? What does that look like to have like a negative or a shadow 6 or a shadow 7? What are those?
Yeah. So let me first explain. So all numbers exist on a range of vibrations. So just like I think I mentioned earlier, like I like to look at numbers like they're a music note, right? How you can play like a low C, and it sounds it's definitely still a C you're playing, but it's obviously lower, and you hear it lower. And then you can go up an octave, and then it's a little bit higher, but it's the same note, right? But it's just expressed a little bit differently. So numbers are very much the same, where if you're kind of the very positive light side that we call it, it is seen as more positive expression of the number. That's kind of like I said, you're just, living aligned, and you're like, for example, let's talk about the 7. The light side of the 7 is, it's very, like I said, it's introspective. It's okay with being alone and not feeling lonely. It knows that you're meant to utilize this great mind that you have and intuition, and really feels things out and act out sometimes mostly out of that logic too. It's very logical as well as a 7. But then sometimes if you go into, you can either have like an underbalanced number or an overbalanced number that both can be the shadow. So like, for example, the 7, if you're too overbalanced, you have too much of that 7 energy, it can turn into being like judgmental. It can be very kind of stuck in their way, even though 7 is very unique about their way of doing things. It's hard for them to see other ways of doing it, and can be a very lonely experience, because they kind of take it into this more selfish kind of, I'm just going to only focus on myself, even though, yes, as a 7, you're meant to, you focus on your own path. But that can kind of turn into a very isolated, lonely experience of the 7. Or you could even have in the other way, the shadow of the underbalanced 7, where it's not coming out enough, where maybe you have a life path 7, but you're not necessarily, maybe this person doesn't like to think about deep subjects. It's like, that's really hard to do. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. That's where the 7 is underbalanced, where you're really meant to go into those depths. You're meant to ask those questions. That person's soul really wanted them to, but maybe they're just like, I want to have an easier life. I don't want to deal with that. So they may be a little bit underbalanced in that way, and on the other shadow side of the 7. Does that help answer your question, or do you wanted some other examples?
So it's just that there's often times in people's lives where they feel like things aren't going the way that they ought to go. And if it's a numbers thing where you're destined for destruction, I mean, we're all going to die someday, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is you're destined, like your numbers are all coming up very negative or unbalanced or whatever your terminology for it is. It sounds like every number has like a good and a bad side, but it sounds like there's also like an overclocked or an underclocked version of the number, and those have different consequences as well.
Exactly. And because like I mentioned earlier, we all have, we can decide ourselves, even though we have this destiny, we still have free will to act it out how we want to. And I don't look at any number as negative, or, although I may, I have to use this terminology to explain it, but it's just, that soul's experience that they wanted to experience. And that's okay. And that's exactly, if that's what they're meant to do, it's what they're meant to do. And so even if I see someone's chart that's like, okay, wow, there's a lot of difficulty here, there's a lot of friction between the numbers, I do always, I like to look at it in a positive light, and that maybe that's just me. I have a 3 life path number, right? I want to see things on the light side and be optimistic. But I look at that as like, okay, your soul just really wanted a challenge when it came in here. Like, you have a very tenacious soul to come in here, especially people that I see with a lot of karmic debt numbers and then some other, disharmony in their chart. It's like your soul wanted it to be a little bit of more difficult experience, so you have even more reward of the lessons, right? Because the more lessons and more experiences you have, like the more you're going to evolve, or hopefully that's that's what the soul really wants to do when it comes in this incarnation. Or you could have someone that maybe they have a really easy chart. They're just like, my soul didn't want to have to work too hard this lifetime. I just want to come in and just want to float around on the river. You could have that as well. But like I said, I always try to frame it in a positive light, even if there's like, whoa, there's a lot of disharmony here. But those are usually the most evolved people. And oh my gosh, the people that you're just like, you know yourself, just they understand themselves because they've had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations to learn those things and really see the lessons in them. And so I, like I said, just like the karmic debt numbers, I feel like there's even more of a gift in there.
All right, so we're going to put up your website here. So we have numerology, energy healing, booking workshops, more, and where we were at was under the blog.
Yeah.
And for anybody who was wanting to know where we were at, it was this one right here, September 2022 life path number calculations and meanings. And it goes through kind of the process of doing so I had 88 come up, and you called it a karmic debt number.
Well, it eventually reduces to
okay, I see.
Plus 8 would be the 16. Yeah, that's why that's a 16.
Gotcha. All right. So at any rate, this is what I was looking at, how I was able to have kind of some touchstone as to what we were talking about early. When Kyle came in and he's like, "What are you even talking about?" So this is where we were looking. You have a lot of workshops and booking available. So if you are interested in checking out some more from Lauren and Illuminated Life Healing, come here, and I'll put the website up again.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I'm starting a workshop tomorrow. So of course, when this airs, it'll most likely be already through or partially through. But please, if you are, listening to this, if it's already past the date or anything, take a look at the workshop page. And because I'm also going to be offering some different courses coming up here soon. I'm developing a conscious parenting with numerology course right now, it'll be a pre-recorded course. So of course, as parents, like, we need to be able to access things when we can. It's hard to come together at a certain time. So that's why I want to do it kind of pre-recorded, but walks you through how to calculate your child's life path number, and then how to better parent your child knowing their numbers, and even turning it around and like, okay, how can you better parent yourself, and maybe be that parent that you maybe you wished you would have had and would have known these things about yourself as well. So really excited to be offering that soon. And I do also want to say, if you go to my shop page, and I have a numerology guide for personal days. And yeah, there you go, Gord. Yep, on my shop page. And I have a discount for the guide, the first one that pops up, that personal days one. It's normally $11, but if you put in the code podcast, you can get it for $1.11. And it'll walk you through how to calculate your personal days in numerology. So it walks you through all your personal cycle, how you calculate those things. And then it gives description of each specific day. So if you're like in a one day, it gives you examples of things that you can kind of expect to happen. You know, what are the energies more conducive to doing, what you may kind of want to avoid on those days. So it kind of just gives you a little heads up of to what you're going to be dealing with. And I like that too, because it offers some validation. If there's certain days where I'm just like, I'm not feeling it today. Like, what is going on? Why am I like emotionally messy? Like what's going on? And then I'll look and be like, oh, it was a 2-day, or, you know, something like that. And then that just helps me know that tomorrow's going to be different. Right. And then it's going to be a different energy. And then you'll have all these different energies to do different activities as well. So yeah, that's there if anyone's interested in that.
Awesome.
All right. Well, with that, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. We went a little bit longer. I think we were having a good time. So we went
Lots
a little
to talk about.
longer. And for all of our listeners, she's got the discount code, so better use it. And check out illuminatedlifehealing.com. For everyone who joined us in the chat, thank you for your comments. We appreciate your participation. Brian, the info that you need to give over right now is your social security number, credit card number.
And the 3-digit pin on the back.
Yeah, that security code.
But for everybody else, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we will keep bringing such great content to you. Until next time, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.